Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again for another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda and I'm so glad that you could join me today. Today we are going to continue on with our study learning about the Jehovah Witnesses. We learned in our last video about what they believed, and today we're going to put their beliefs into looking at their daily life. What are they allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? And why. Understanding more about their daily life and why they choose to do some of the things that make them stand out in society. So, if you are intrigued, if you are ready, let's hit the intro and we'll begin. So for the Jehovah Witness, their belief and their allegiance is first and foremost with God. So anything that would pull that belief or allegiance or give the illusion that they were focusing on anything but God is something that they as a group try to avoid and minimize. So for that reason, Jehovah Witnesses do not vote because they believe in the kingdom in heaven, and that while they respect the government on earth, they don't believe that any person should have more judgment over other people than God. So they don't vote in elections. They are what's known as a conscientious objector to military service. Now, men of the age of 18 are still required to sign up for selective service if there was a draft. If there was a draft, what would happen if a Jehovah Witness male was drafted into the military would be that they would be assigned a non-combat related position. So they may be a cook, they may be a custodian, I don't know, but they would be given a non-combat type of position. Their first go-to would be to get out of it as a conscientious objective. If they can't, then that's what they would do to meet that obligation. They are not allowed to run for political office. Now, this is different than many other Christian denominations because they want to have their people of their own specific denomination in positions of authority because it gives that denomination more pulpit space, more space to influence others. But the Jehovah Witnesses do not believe that they need to be in that power role because God is in that power role. So they don't run for office. They also, and I noticed this as when I was a teacher, if you are a Jehovah Witness, you don't stand for the pledge and you don't stand for the national anthem, because they view that when you're standing for the pledge, you're pledging allegiance to a country, and their allegiance should go just to God. If you stand for the national anthem, you're pledging your allegiance, you're showing your pride in that country, and again, that pride should go to God, not the country. So they don't stand for that. They try not to make like a big scene about it. They try to provide their teachers or other people information, so it's less of a big deal, that they can just be themselves and ignore it. So another big thing that the Jehovah Witnesses are quite publicly known for is not wanting to receive blood transfusions or blood products for life-sustaining measures. Sorry about that. They believe that if it is their time to die, then that's their time to die, and that Jehovah will take care of them. He will heal them if that illness is such that they need to continue living. They believe that taking a blood product would be disrespectful to God in that message, I should say. And they're referencing Acts 15 Acts chapter 15, verse 20, when they mention this. So we're going to read it from the Bible. We've got today's English version is the one I have. And we're going to read Acts 15, verse 20. You make your own mind up as far as, okay, does this sound like it's saying don't take any blood transfusions, okay? Here's what it says. Instead, we should write a letter telling them not to eat any food that is ritually unclean because it has been offered to idols to keep themselves from sexual immorality, and not to eat any animal that has been strangled or any blood. That's the end of it. So you make of that what you feel, but that's the phrase that they're taking as far as why they do not receive blood transfusions or blood products. Okay, they also are strong believers that because their allegiance is to God and because God has granted them this life and He has granted them these privileges, premarital sex is like one of the biggest sins you can do, because you're taking something that God specifically created for married individuals to enjoy, and you're basically desecrating on it. So premarital sex is a big no-no. Having homosexual relations or having relations outside of that, what they believe is the traditional marriage unit, which is one male, one female. If you are having gender dysphoria or you're gender transitioning, you are questioning, in their opinion, God's design, God's plan for you. And why are you altering what God had planned for you? Do you think you know better than God? You can't do that. And another big one in the Jehovah Witnesses is adultery. They do not believe in divorce unless it's very extreme cases. But the idea of adultery is a huge insult to God. And that's something that they will take very seriously. Now, as far as their dress goes, when they are coming to a meeting, remember that's what they refer to their worship spaces as. When they gather for a meeting, it's twice a week, the men will always wear a white shirt, a tie, and a jacket, like a suit jacket, not like a winter jacket. They will always be dressed up. Females will always be in dresses. They will always have their hair done, but they should not have wild amounts of makeup or jewelry or adornments that would draw attention to themselves. They should be clean cut. Women must wear skirts that go past their knees at all times, at all moments, whether they are playing with their kids at the park, whether they are in the church, in the Kingdom Hall, they always must wear skirts to remind themselves of their femininity. And men are strictly discouraged, and this made me chuckle, they can't wear tight pants. Yep, so if you gain weight, you best be getting a new pair of pants because you can't be wearing tight pants. Again, it's supposed to be the modesty part. It just made me chuckle that it specifically called out men wearing tight pants. As far as their diet goes, they don't eat any food that contains blood. So meat, most don't eat just out of practice. They're typically vegetarian in lifestyles. If they're eating meat, it must be cooked at a well-done level where there is no meat that is red or blood present. That's what they do. They do not drink alcohol. They do not consume tobacco or similar type substances. Many medications will also be discouraged for medical reasons if they might alter your mindset, because again, God created you the way He created you for a reason. So if you have ADHD, for example, why are you taking medication to change that and change God's plan for you? That's just what they believe. So there's that. Moving on, we are going to talk about in their daily life, in their worship as a Jehovah Witness, they use their Bible regularly. And this is something that I do admire about the Jehovah Witnesses, that they really try to dive deeper into the Bible and understand it more. They have what is known as Bible studies, again, twice a week. Part of it is in the worship space on the weekends, and sometimes it is during the weekday that they also have Bible studies. Their service dates change. Sometimes their weekday service is on a Wednesday, sometimes it's on a Thursday. It depends on that Kingdom Hall's customs. Typically, their worship day on the weekend is Sunday, but some worship spaces have their day on Saturday. It's not necessarily consistent across the board, but it is one during the week and one on the weekend, and you are expected and required to be attending both if you are part of the Jehovah Witnesses. So let's talk about this Bible, because as I mentioned in a previous video, the Jehovah Witnesses do have a specific Bible that is just for them. So there's the Catholic Bible, there's many different Protestant Bibles, there's a Lutheran Bible, and there is a Jehovah Witness Bible in particular as well. The Jehovah Witness Bible is known as the New World Translation, or the NWT, and it was specifically designed by a bunch of Jehovah Witnesses who read through the Protestant Bible, the Catholic Bible, and they modified it slightly to fix some of the wording and align it with the Jehovah Witnesses practices. So aligning it with the idea of calling God Jehovah, or referring to God by that 4-letter Hebrew name, the YHWH. Some people will call it Yahweh. Some people will not try to put a name on it because it's supposed to be like the holiest of names, and nobody is worthy to use that holiest of names. So they basically took the Bible that was, and they ran through it, and they looked at different phrases differently. And let's talk about why, because there was a whole situation. All these different types of Christian Bibles or Protestant Bibles that were all designed by different groups and leaders that really more supported what they believed, and also supported more of what their denomination linked to, which is why there are some books in the Catholic Bible that are not in some of the Protestant Bibles, and vice versa. And some people or some stories that are just different. The Kingdom Hall, Jehovah Witnesses were very specific, and they wanted their Bible to really be used and user-friendly for the Jehovah Witnesses. So they tend to use a little bit more modern language. They talk about the NWE, the New World Translation. It uses what's known as Alexandria text type development. And this was created by scholars B.F. Westcott and F.J.A. Hort. Okay. The Alexandria was thought to be some of the oldest surviving manuscripts, dates back to 4 CE or Common Era, with messianic texts found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they were referenced for the Old Testament. So they basically took these different texts and kind of lined everything up, and as they were lining things up and understanding the translation, some of the wording was different. And so they chose to use the Alexandria. Now, if you look on the other side so you can understand it, the King James Version, or the KJV, uses what's known as Textus Reciprocus, and it's more of a Greek translation. It's very widely based on a work of scholars, very widely accepted by Protestants during the Reformation, and it's derived more from the Byzantine manuscripts. So of the two, the Byzantine and the Alexandria is earlier, so the Jehovah Witnesses thought that was more fitting as far as this is where they should go and base it off of that language. Now, how does this correlate? How does this look to change? I pulled 3 specific verses so that we could see how it changes in the translation between the King James Version and the New World Translation. So, are you ready? If you want, feel free to grab your own Bible that you have at your house and you can see how yours compares. The first one we're going to be looking at is the book of John, chapter 1, verse 1. Okay? In the King James Version, it reads, "The Word was God," big G, meaning God, the one God. Okay? In the New World Translation, it's very slight, but it's different. It says, "The Word was a God," little g, meaning that it was important, but it was not God itself. It was different. Okay? Let's look at the second verse. We've got Hebrews 1, verse 8. King James Version says, "But unto the Son he saith, Thy throne, O God, is forever and ever." Okay? The New World Translation reads, "But about the Son he says, God is your throne forever and ever." So do you see the difference? Similar, but different. It shows that separation. It's pulling Jesus or the Son away from God's status. Okay, let's look at one more. This time we're going to be looking back in the book of John. This time we're at John chapter 8, verse 58. Okay, the King James Version reads, "Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am." Now the New World Translation text reads, "Jesus said to them, Mostly truly I say to you, before Abraham came into existence, I have been." Again, aligning with their understanding that Jesus was created before the world even came to existence. Slight changes, but those changes also matter and they support their beliefs. So very interesting as to why the Jehovah Witnesses have their own Bible and what makes it so special. So if you enjoyed today's presentation, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because we'll be coming back in just a few days and you won't want to miss it. The next video, we're going to be talking about the role of women and what holidays they celebrate in Jehovah Witnesses. You won't want to miss it. Don't forget to keep on learning, because the more we learn, the more we grow. Have a great day, everyone.